Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We've reached the top 15 of our schedule previews based on our way too early top 25. And kicking things off, we've got the Oklahoma Sooners in their first year in the SEC. So now the question is, are the Sooners legitimate SEC title contenders, or will they struggle in their transition in what is ultimately a pretty difficult schedule? So welcome back, guys. We're so glad you could join us today to break down the Sooners schedule. The Sooners, again, coming at number 15 in our way too early top 25. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. Tons of exclusive content over there, guys, to help you get through this offseason. The 2024 season will be here before we know it, and this will be one of your top sources and top sites for college football news, predictions, and analysis. So go check it out and become a member of our GE Nation. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our future videos, including our Oklahoma season prediction, actual record prediction, coming your way here in just a few months. So let's take a look at Oklahoma, guys. Brent Venables kind of turned things around in year two. Very disappointing first year with the Sooners. Bounced back in year two, led them to a 10-3 record. Only losses were to Kansas, Oklahoma State, and then Arizona in their bowl game. All in all, a much better year. But the Sooners, in their final year in the Big 12, still failed to make the Big 12 championship, failed to make the college football playoff, and now they're entering a much more difficult conference with questions on both sides of the ball. Jackson Arnold, now stepping in at quarterback, had a solid performance against Arizona in the bowl game, but turnovers were a major issue in that game. But there's a lot of promise with the young quarterback, but they have to replace a lot of the offensive line. The defense is going to have to remain strong. Brent Venables typically going to have that as a defensive-minded guy, but to win the SEC, you've got to have a strong defense and you've got to have strong quarterback play. Question is, will Oklahoma have both or either in 2024? Take a look at their schedule, guys. It's really funny how this breaks down for me for the Sooners. The first half of their schedule, literally the first 6 games, are not that bad. There are some tough ones in there, and we'll break that down. But the back half is what could make or break Oklahoma. And we're going to get to that in a second. One thing you should notice here is, you look at that back half, 3 of the final 5 games they have are on the road against teams that won at least 10 games last year. The other one is against Alabama. So we're going to get to that in a second. Just keep that in mind as we break this down. Start at the beginning of the schedule. Temple in week 1. Houston, Tulane, Tennessee. The one thing that Oklahoma's got going for them, their first 4 games are all at home. That's massive. Temple, Houston, Tulane, Tennessee. So the Sooners' first SEC game, first conference game against Tennessee, it's going to be at home. So that's really big for the Sooners. And Tennessee going to be a solid team, very solid offensive team. The defense certainly needs some help. Could be a high-scoring shootout in Norman. Should be a fun game. And if you remember back in 2014 and 2015, the Sooners and the Volunteers had that home-and-home series. Saw some fun matchups during that time, kind of renewing that here on September 21st. Obviously, I think anything less than a 3-0 start would be very concerning and very disappointing. They should dispatch Temple. They will probably dispatch Tulane, although they're not going to be a pushover by any means, despite the loss of Willie Fritz. And ironically, they play Willie Fritz in week 2 against Houston. So they play Willie Fritz at Houston, and they play Willie Fritz's former team in Tulane the next week. Tennessee, first SEC game at home. I would expect Oklahoma to be favored in that game. Again, we're not predicting whether they're going to win or lose, but the Sooners would probably be favored. Then they go to Auburn. Auburn's one of those teams that you don't really know what to expect from this year. Year 1 under Hugh Freeze wasn't all that great. They nearly take down Alabama in the season finale, get torched by Maryland in their bowl game. A lot of new pieces now for Hugh Freeze in year 2. Hopefully things are going to be better for them. But once again, I would expect Oklahoma to be favored. I really think the Sooners can be favored in their first 5 games. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're probably thinking anything less than a 5-0 start is disappointing. You've got Tennessee, who's not a slouch, but at home. Got to defend your home field. And then an Auburn team that certainly will improve, but in theory, Oklahoma's the better team, even though we're not predicting things today. So you look at that. I think anything less than 5-0 start for Oklahoma is disappointing. Then you go into your bye week right before the Texas game. That one's massive, right? Red River rivalry, Red River showdown still remains a conference game, just like it was last year in the Big 12. Last year was an absolutely thriller. The last meeting between these teams in the Big 12 came down to the final seconds, and Oklahoma won 34-30. Texas, though, ultimately got the last laugh because they won the Big 12 in their final year, made the college football playoff, and were just a few plays away from making the national championship game. So So Texas is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They are a top 10 team to start the year, maybe top 5 for some. Loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. This is going to be fun. This rivalry game is always elite. But last year it was like monumental because it's the last meeting as Big 12 teams, and now it's the first meeting as SEC teams. Like, it's always something between Oklahoma and Texas. One of the best rivalries in college football. And that game's going to be massive, not just when it comes to the SEC standings. It's massive when it comes to bragging rights. Massive potentially when it comes to the playoff race. No doubt about it. Then South Carolina right after Texas. At home, which is big. And then it's that stretch we talked about. Look at the final 5 games. At Ole Miss, Maine. Okay, give them the win over Maine. At Missouri. Old Big 12 matchup there. The bye week. Alabama at LSU. As we mentioned, 3 of those 5 games are on the road against teams that won at least 10 games last year. The other one is a home game against Alabama. They have to go to Ole Miss. Ole Miss won 11 games and won the Peach Bowl last year. Ole Miss dominated the transfer portal in the offseason. They are a top 10 team to start the year. One of the best chances they've had in a long time to maybe win the SEC, and Lane Kiffin can definitely do it. One of the best offenses in the country this year, no doubt about it. Then they have Missouri on the road. That old Big 12 matchup we mentioned. Missouri won 11 games last year. Won the Cotton Bowl over Ohio State. They have a lot coming back on offense, lose a lot on defense, but Eli Drinkwitz's building something special in Columbia on the road. Missouri going to love to welcome in their old Big 12 rival. Then the bye week. Alabama. Yeah, we know Alabama does not have Nick Saban anymore. We understand that. The Crimson Tide are still going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're still going to be an SEC title contender. Massive that Oklahoma gets a week of rest prior to this game. Massive that Oklahoma gets to welcome Alabama in to Norman. Welcomes them to their house. That's big instead of having to go into Tuscaloosa. But Alabama still won 12 games last year. Won the SEC. They're the reigning SEC champions. They're the kings of the SEC until proven otherwise. And were a play away from maybe making the national championship and upsetting Michigan. And then on the road at LSU, who won 10 games last year, who won 10 games and won the SEC West the year before under Brian Kelly. And now they're going to Death Valley on senior day for the Tigers and one of the most difficult places to play in the entire country. That last bit of the schedule, guys, is absolutely brutal. Ole Miss won 11. Missouri won 11. Alabama won 12. LSU won 10. Ole Miss won a New Year's Six Bowl game. Missouri won a New Year's Six Bowl game. Alabama made the college football playoff and won the conference. LSU won 10 games. Tough, tough, tough. And 3 of those on the road. LSU, arguably the toughest road environment out of those 3 road games. I would definitely put Death Valley, obviously, above Missouri and Ole Miss, but none of those games are going to be easy by any means. So you look at Oklahoma. Let's say they navigate the first 7 games at 7-0, or maybe even 6-1. Say they lose to Texas, lose to Tennessee or Auburn. One of those games. Let's say they're 6-1 or 7-0. They are SEC title contenders. They are college football playoff contenders. But it could all come falling apart where they only finish with 8 or 9 wins in the final 5 games. Those final 5 games could catapult Oklahoma and solidify themselves as legitimate SEC title contenders or playoff contenders, or completely ruin their season and take what could be a very strong start and have it end with a terrible finish where the Sooners don't even make the playoff, are middle of the pack SEC, and have only won 8 or 9 games by season's end. That's how drastic of a turn the season could take starting on October 26th. It is going to be a tough year for Oklahoma. It's going to be a tough transition for Oklahoma. Can they do it? Absolutely they can. Can they win it? Absolutely they can. I have faith in this team. I have faith in Brent Venables, but this is going to be a very tough transition for the Sooners. And all I'm going to say is, after the first 7 weeks of the season, if you're praising Oklahoma as a legitimate national title contender, you can do that. But do not forget what is waiting for them starting on October 26th. That will be the true test. That will be the key stretch, and that will determine whether or not the Sooners are legit or, dare I say, they were frauds to the first couple weeks of the season. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com. We will have predictions for every team, including the Oklahoma Sooners, coming your way here in just a few months, so do not miss out on that. Check out the website, hit that notification bell, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content we have coming your way. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.